Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm excited to be here with you today. My name is Sian Gadamu. I'm the Deputy Director for the Aspen Global Innovators Group, hosted at the Aspen Institute. And I'm joined today with these beautiful ladies in this beautiful country to really talk about the future and the power of women leadership. So let me start off by introducing our fabulous panelists. Deloise is the Executive Director of Black Women in Executive Leadership, Be Well, and the founder and executive director of Batuke, an impact business focused on shooting power, which explores the relationship between decision makers and decision-making processes, emphasizing the importance of healthy working relationships. Ada, a creative leader at the cutting edge of global and domestic philanthropy, Ada has worked for 2 decades to advance the power and influence of women and girls in color around the world. She has conceived groundbreaking disruptions to philanthropic norms and scalable models to transform the field along the way. By championing the formation of the first Women and Girls of Color DESI Council within a premier philanthropic and venture organization, she has envisioned a future in philanthropy and investment built around silo-busting investment strategies, fundamental trust in women and girls at the intersection of gender, race, ethnicity, and economics. And last but not least, Teresa. She's an activist, advocate, renowned public speaker, organizational strategist, and a proven leader in the philanthropic and policy sectors, having spent 30 years on the front lines of some of the most critical battles for comprehensive equity and the elimination of institutionalized oppression for just over a decade. She has served as the president and CEO of the Mrs. Foundation. She's the longest serving CEO of color and the second longest serving CEO in Mrs. over 50-year history. So, welcome. And with that, let's get ready. So let's hear from these amazing women. So, Deloise, can you tell us about your journey and what brought you to this work?
Thank you. Thank you all for the invitation, and being here has been a pleasure. I really am a fan of Colombia and of these ladies, so thank you for this opportunity. I am Brazilian, and I'm currently living in Spain, in Barcelona, so I working with the diaspora and learning from the diaspora is an inspiration for me. I have worked for many years in Brazil with government and also with third sector, and learning from Black and Indigenous leaders, especially the Quilombolas leaders in Brazil. And I believe being in this connection, especially looking for the gender and the intersectional race and gender look for now, it's my joy in life. So I'm very, very happy for being able to doing this work.
Thank you. And going to pass that over to you, Ada. Can you tell us about your journey and what brought you to this work?
Yeah, so I will say also that I use she, her pronouns, and I'm coming to you from Duwamish lands in Seattle, Washington. So the journey is not linear, I will tell you that. I think that I've spent most of my life and career trying to transform systems and societies to just to fight for those who are unseen, unheard, not visible, and to unleash power that has not been unleashed for people like me, but also I think that that journey has led me through a lot of different things, but that's the purpose of that. It's led me through my community and on through humanitarian aid work and on through where I am now. And I think what brought me here is probably my grandmother, my namesake, who raised 6 kids as a single mother in the south side of Chicago in the projects. And then through my mother, who, as a single mom, kind of gave me the willingness and kind of purpose to continue to serve my community. And I think that's what brings me here is the idea, the potential to connect us through the power that we have to transform the world. And I'm looking to continue to do that with all of you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Teresa, it's about your journey.
Thank you. My journey is pretty simple, actually, and I want to first off say thank you. I adore these women that I'm on the stage with today and so many women that are here. I actually oftentimes say that I grew up in North Dakota in the United States, which is a state that does not have a lot of diversity at all, aside from Native American and indigenous folks. Um, and I often say that I knew more about farming than feminism and thought GS meant Girl Scouts, not Gloria Steinem. I run the largest and oldest women's philanthropic institution in the world, the Ms. Foundation for Women, based out of Brooklyn, New York. And my, career had started as a Girl Scout, truly just trying to make the world a better place, trying to understand and appreciate the sisterhood and siblinghood of what it takes to make change happen in the world. And that's what I've spent my lifetime doing. And I've done it, well, Ada says it was not linear, her career. My career was really about a whole bunch of left-hand turns. And left-hand turns are those that require you to look both ways and still take the risk of going across the road and turning. And so my career started where most don't think about, which is it started in youth development, knowing that youth were the future. And it was there that I worked with young people who I understood did not have the opportunities that I was given. And the first time in that work, I realized there was a lot more to be done than just staying in that youth development work. And then I moved to policy. And now I've been in philanthropy for over 11 years now. But it's really been a very simple process of trying to make the world a better place, moving to the places where that happens, and that has brought me here today into a global conversation of what we can do to change the world and make it a better place overall.
Thank you. Delo, let's start with you. How has community showed up for you in your journey?
Thank you for this question, because I believe every Black women that you have here in this place probably have to experience the support of some member of your community to be able to thrive at your career, right? So both our families and our partners, our student partners, our work partners, some of them can become very, very supportive in our journeys, part because they can listen to us and understand the challenges that face. It's so unique what we as Black women face in our fields. It is my reality in Brazil. I know it is the reality of many of you here in each country. And having the support, for me, I grew up as a kid in São Paulo, in a really poor neighborhood, and I haven't the perspective of what power is, what success is. And even in each one of my steps in my journey, first time having a big salary, how take care of your money, first time being able to be in powerful conversations, how you behave yourself, how you take care of your self-confidence. And then when I big, very big changes in my life and my career, moving abroad, open a business, decided to be in a different career and position, having even more senior and open partners around the globe, especially in Brazil, but then with colleagues like Ada and Teresa that give me the time and the opportunity to listen to the wisdom, the perspective, see myself in them, and then be able to have the courage to change and to take risk. That for me is something that the community is more supportive. We can take risks for ourselves. When you came from a community, when you came from a reality, when research are so scared that we won't give ourselves the privilege of taking risks, but you can't succeed what this. So for me, for this community is so important for me, and also I spend a special part of my time guaranteed that I can supporting, mentoring, making conversation, especially what other Black women around the globe that are organizing their path to leadership and doing changing in this world, because we can do this by ourselves. So thank you for this question.
Thank you. I want to also open that up to you, Ada and Teresa. How does community shown up in your journey and the work that you do?
I think that community has continued to show up in my journey because, and the identities that I hold show up in my journey as I've grown and moved through the world. They continue to show up because they are those that pick up the phone when you call. They are those who come in the room even though they've heard you speak 100 times. They are those who are opening opportunities and doors for you in places that you haven't been before. And community continues to be a part of that. And sometimes community for me means that I sit in the back of the room and show up for others. Community is a two-way street. It is not just how it shows up for me, but it is how I show up for them and am present and use my voice and the tables that I sit at to promote what's going on and to invite more people to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I echo both of those things, and I think to be a leader, you have to have community with you, and I also think for Black women, for women of color in particular, our community is what keeps us grounded. It's what keeps us whole as a leader, as part of our leadership. And what's unique about our leadership is that we have community with us. And I will say one more thing about that, which is that my community is what helps me be a better leader. And I can say with all honesty that being in leadership positions, if I didn't have community, I wouldn't have survived in places where I didn't look like anybody else. So I think that community is incredibly important for me.
Thank you. Teresa, having spent so many years working in the gender equity space, can you share examples, thinking about the community conversation, where cross-movement solidarity has really led to some breakthroughs in the movement?
Thank you. I love that question. And having spent 30 years in the gender and racial justice spaces has also allowed me to understand the conversation about cross-movement isn't real if you are a woman of color in this world today. There's no separation in these movements. They are all actually the same movement towards humanity, and that is what I have been working for. So the environmental justice movement, along with the reproductive justice movement, along with the economic justice movement, have all been working together in spaces that have gotten us to, even early on, Roe v. Wade in the United States, around reproductive justice. On the flip side, it also created an opportunity for a very real conversation around what healthcare looks like in the United States on Indigenous lands, right? So you have to take a look at all of these pieces. You have to be an expert in wherever you are, and you have to trust those in the other movement spaces to hold their responsibilities and to trust that they're going to do it. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but you have to continue to set the table that invites more and more people together. And the people and the voices you least expect to be there is what will get you to that change. So at the Ms. Foundation for Women, I will say we have de-siloed our grant making. We no longer make our grants in issue areas. We make our grants across movement spaces because what we know to be true is that women don't work on one issue. They work on multiple issues because our lives are complex and have multiple issues going on. We don't work on women's issues. We work on the issues that affect the lives of women. We don't work in women's movements. We work in the movements that affect the lives of women. Language is important when we talk about this because when you ask a woman what she does, she will give you one of her identities, not all of her identities. So we need to create for them, how do you spend your day? How do you spend your time? When we restructure what the question is, we restructure what the answer is. So the question you've asked about movement spaces that have come together, there are all of the movement spaces that come together in order for us to create the change that we're looking to make.
Thank you. Delo, what role can diaspora programs play in amplifying the visibility of women leaders in these underrepresented regions?
Nice. And this is a answer that may, for this group, be something that the majority of people here already think about, already agree. But you know that in our countries, in the Black movements that you know, in each one of our countries, it's very common that people overlook the power of diaspora, right? Because we see our local issues are so unique. It's like our historical or our cultural or our economical contexts matter more than all that you face as a global community that face the global project of white supremacy and colonialism. And yes, it's true that we have local specificities, and we can learn from them. We can learn from the innovation, we can learn from the strategies from each region, but we won't face these global challenges without global strategies and without the power of the diaspora for understand what happens systemically. When I am alone in Brazil, I am unable to understand what happened because I am Brazilian and what happened because we are facing the international colonialism. But when I sit with Ada, when I sit with Teresa, when I sit with other people around the globe and you discuss what happened in our realities and you can see the patterns, what is our reality because of the systemical pattern, then we can find solutions. And I even believe that one of the reasons why we see each other so locally, it's a strategy for we won't able to thrive, right? So here, the diaspora matters a lot, and we are to be able to balance the end here. Yes, the local matters, and we need a global strategy, a global, even global research, because when things happen like what we're facing in the US right now, you can have the global solidarity for support them and for not being in the middle of the crisis is still creating solutions. In Brazil, the law didn't change right by now. We still have a minister from racial equity. We still have affirmative actions. We still are learning a lot over there and can be partners in this global solution and even support our sisters and brothers in the mental health challenge that it is facing this daily with more energy and less effort. So this is some of the reasons why I'm such a fan of we being together as a diaspora. And one more thing is that oppression, it's so easy for us to repeat patterns of oppressions with each others. It's so easy for us to see ourselves as better or more special or more important than other Black people around the globe. We see many examples in the US, in South Africa, in Latin America, of group of Black people seeing themselves as unique, special, and demanding unique researches, unique strategies, and this is so dangerous. We shouldn't go to this trap of repeating oppression against other Black people around the globe, and being aware of the power of diaspora is one of the ways for that.
It's a terrifying. I just want to add to that, which is it is terrifying for those who are in perceived power to understand that diaspora is more powerful than they are. And if they divide us by imaginary lines on a globe, then that is how they will separate us, right? Divide and conquer, not come together. Because when we come together, we all dance to the same beat. We swing to the same thing. We listen to the same words. And that is what I have really found. And when you talk about this, I asked a group of women one time in Rwanda, a group of US women in Rwanda, why are you here? And they said, because we don't want to forget what our joy looks like. and we want to learn from those around us. That's the importance of diaspora.
Well, and just I love what you said, Delo, because I think that we already know what it looks like when it's been divided. I mean, the entire continent of Africa was divided by colonialists. And so since we already know that, we should learn that lesson. And I think, I was saying something earlier about one of the things about the Festival of the Diaspora is that it is the power of the Black diaspora in particular, and what does it mean to connect over that. So, and also I wanted to just give an example on the gender equity piece around how, cross-sectional that is. I have an example of a group called Free From, which actually is a great example of how you go across intersectionally. It is a group of survivors that are entrepreneurs, and they actually are making stuff. Survivors are building businesses to show that survivors of violence aren't just going to sit and take as beneficiaries, right? They're actually building something. And if you know about Tarana Burke and the Me Too movement, she has a program where survivors become and learn advocacy so that they actually become policymakers. What does it mean for a survivor to be a policymaker? They make different policies, right? So if we think about what it means to have the power of women of color in an intersectional way, and that power unleashed is a force across housing, across entrepreneurship, across so many different sectors. It changes everything about how we live. It transforms society in a completely different way. So I just wanted to add that little piece.
And we'll stick to you, Ada. So speaking of, as Teresa mentioned, we all come with multiple identities. We come to multiple identities to the table. So how can institutions really reimagine the centering Black and Indigenous women, the expertise of Black and Indigenous women, understanding that there is also multiple identities that we bring to the table?
Right. Well, I think, institutions are only as good as the people in them. But I would say also that there are ways to build frameworks inside institutions that really, to me, I think it's about design. I say this a lot, where when you design something for the people from the inside, it kind of changes everything about what you get on the outside. So, for example, I heard this once, and I say it all the time, but who was in the room when they decided what the iPad would be called? Obviously, no women, right? There is a way to design things that are made in our image. We know that the founders of the United States were all white landholders and men, so this is what we get, right? If we design things differently. So I was at a foundation, actually it was an LLC that gave away money in blended capital. I designed a way for women of color to be a part of designing investment strategies. So if they're a part of designing investment strategies, how then can they, it's not like participatory grant making, which is at the end. This is about designing the investment strategy itself for us, by us, which means if women of color design that, they can design what is a strategy that is really looking at who has the most inequity in society and who has the actual solution to the problems. So in doing so, we were able together to come up with, what are the economics, what are the narrative change strategies, what are the strategies that center women and girls of color. And by doing that, we were able to dispense $65 million into the hands of women of color-led organizations across the United States. And it went to the right people. It wasn't a McKinsey and Company built strategy. It was actually built by the ground up. And that is a way, that is a framework by which institutions can center the voices, the needs, the dreams of women and girls of color. So it's possible. It's possible because we did it. It's possible because I did it for European Foundation, and other foundations came to ask about it. So it's possible. And I was in another session where Michael McAfee said, like, it's possible to reimagine what the world looks like. And so that I say that because institutions are only things that we can build. They're not static. Like democracy, it's not static. It's changing and evolving all the time.
Thank you. And thinking about what's possible, but also what's taking place, Teresa, with the rise of authoritarianism threatening gender and almost all movements, progressive movements at this moment, what strategies can really protect grassroots leaders, women leaders specifically, from the backlash and from this at this moment?
This is going to sound really awful. There is no strategy to stop the backlash. Backlash comes when you have success. And backlash comes when you are operating in a sense of fear. So we can't actually stop the backlash. What we can do is prepare for the backlash, right? So some things that we can do. We can make sure that we are adjusting our workloads, not just to do the work and be reactive, but to make sure that we are preserving ourselves and our staffs and the communities that we are working with. That is something that we can do. The backlash is coming. We can ensure that we have lawyers on call and that we are prepared for when there is an assault that goes on against women. Women will forever be the brunt of a backlash. And so we really can't stop it, but we can prepare better for it. And in preparing better for it, it means that we need to have, we need to be looking at alternatives for where our money can go so that we can have the impact to move it when we want to and do. We can make sure that we are asking the right questions. We can protest, but we can protest in multiple ways, and backlash is going to come. One of the things I often say is it is women's voices at the table that changes the way we think about things. We know this to be true, regardless of who those women are, 90% of the time. But it is also about ensuring that those voices get heard. And so when we think about backlash, we need to make sure that we come together as community. We create safe spaces for each other. We learn to trust that we're going to make mistakes as we dig out of the hole, right? There are often times when you're in a tunnel and you think you're digging out of the tunnel and the tunnel caves in. That is backlash. What we have to continue to do is to redesign how we're going to get out of the tunnel. And so redesigning what's going on right now, I oftentimes say, we don't need as many nonprofits as we have. And the nonprofit 501c3 structure in the United States and in many countries, NGOs, it doesn't work. It was not set up to help create communities and to make them stronger. It was actually set up as a tax break for the wealthy. So let's stop crying about the fact that the authoritarian administrations are going after community-based organizations, those that are seeking government dollars or individual dollars. That's not going to work. So let's recreate it. Let's come up with other strategies. Movements were not designed because of a C3 model or a nonprofit structural model. So let's come together, let's brainstorm like we've never brainstormed, and let's come up with an answer to it. And instead of saying, this is broken, oh my gosh, I can't believe they broke it, right? Roe v. Wade, Dobbs never helped women of color, never helped poor women, right? USAID, as good as it is, has not done its work to really truly support and develop the change in democracy that needs to take place. So rather than cry about it, let's figure out how to redesign around it. And that's what's really critical in setting up for backlash. Knowing that it's coming, it will come. Just because it's sunny today does not mean it won't rain tomorrow. It will come. It's always got to be part of our planning structures. And we need to come in and be ready for us as we dig out to have things fall back in and redesign as we go along.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I just would like to say that I agree so much on your view that this has happened because we succeed. We succeed collectively around the globe in have Black people, women, transgender people in position of power. And we can't be naive. We are talking about shifting power. Of course, it won't be easy. Once we can achieve some success, the system reorient themselves to change against us. For example, the word meritocracy was created originally as something to say that we couldn't just change a system from a monarchy and then a system when you have other kinds of inequality for a system when you can have merit as something to explain inequality. So it has a word created to explain that it's not fair, and the system use it as something that it's completely the opposite. And is this a strategy that they have and they do intentionally? If any of us as because years ago, politically, people would say some things that they didn't believe because of political assumptions. But now they are being so truly with their thoughts, right? They are saying to us exactly what they think. And for us, this can be very good because you can address the real issue, the main issue, the power shift kind of show, and not just the other side conversation that you are have to achieve in the previous moment. So I completely agree with you on that.
Thank you. Ada, going to you, and given that women-led initiatives get less than 2% of venture capital, are always underinvested, what alternative or, what does the future look like? Thinking about and taking consideration what Teresa had said, like the models we have now are not working, they're under attack, but what are some models that could work?
I think Teresa alluded to it a little bit. I think it is, reimagining and transforming capital and seeing capital as what it is. Like, there are lots of different things that we can do with capital. So it's not just about waiting for philanthropy to save us. I think it is about, looking at these alternatives. DAFs, for example. There is so much money in DAFs. It's risen from 2020 to 2025, it's had a 100% jump in how much has gone to DAFs as opposed to going into direct philanthropy. We know that blended capital, so looking at investment as well as philanthropy. So a foundation just handing over money in grant dollars is not going to be the future. The future is looking at other ways, just what Teresa said, the 501c3 dollars, that is not the way forward. The way forward is thinking about lots of different models in terms of LLCs, thinking about different pipes, right? And those pipes could be anything from a service model, revenue generating model. There's an organization called Ally Capital Collab, which is looking at trying to teach 501c3s how to, increase their investments so that their endowments or their investments they can actually look at that as a way of revenue generation. Looking at other types of ways to generate revenue, but also not becoming a C3 in the first place. Thinking about a lot of different models for alternatives. But I think that's just the way we have to start thinking. The answer is within communities. It's not always in starting your own organization. And I think that, the social sector, there's social enterprise, but the social sector and the community sector hasn't always thought that way. We've always been fed a line that even by each other, well, you should start this organization. I don't think that's true. I don't think we have to live by that alone anymore. And I think that that's part of like how our communities need to come together and start having these conversations and start building and building and building. There's real estate investments that we need to be thinking about. There's a wonderful woman named Anasa Troutman who actually purchased the Claiborne Temple in Mississippi, where where MLK did one of his first speeches and strikes for the sanitation workers. But it's thinking about things like that where I think we have to start. That's where we have to go, honestly.
Thank you. And so for our final question, I would love, whoever would love to start to answer this, but it goes back to the title. How can the leadership of women future-proof the world?
Well, as a futurist who firmly believes in Wakanda and has it on my business card, I will say that it's kind of a trick question because I believe that we already do. And since I actually wrote this panel and wasn't expecting to be on it, so I wrote really hard questions for other people. Yeah, it's kind of a trick question because the truth is women of color, particularly Black women, have always thought of the future. If you think about somebody like Octavia Butler and Lucille Clifton, who are, one is a poet and one is an author, they already saw the future. I think if we think about what Cordell said, and AI, the real AI is ancestral intelligence. I'm definitely using that. We know the future because we know our past. And I think our future proofing, I think it's the only thing that future proofs is our community, our ability to connect with one another. And it just feels like home to us. And I wanted to say something at the beginning, but I was too nervous coming up here. But this whole panel and me being here is because of Lola Adedokun, who is a very good friend. She and I designed this panel together before she passed away. And this was our vision, that we would talk about how we, as Black women, would carry on a vision to future-proof the world through our connection and through women of color. And so this is really the vision. I really believe that. I know that that's what we do together and that we will continue to do. So I leave it to the two of you.
This is such a special question because the reason why I just recently became executive director of BWL, Black Women Executive Leadership, the organization that as a fellow and when I met these wonderful women. And for me, I truly believe on that. Giving, people won't giving us power, but we organizing our system when we can exercise power. This is the way women will change the world. Because many times, and you saw this happen around the globe, we, after years of fighting for and doing different kind of strategies and with support of the communities. In Brazil, for example, it has a first generation. In the US, you have 3 or maximum 3 or 4 generation of the first Black women in positions of power. But people see as if the few of us that it is in this position, once we achieve the leadership position, we become a director, a CEO, a chief of staff, a head of people, or wherever, in any sector, across the fields. Once you achieve this position, it's like the world has ended. But we're just begun because we're the first in one navigating on these systems. So when we have someone that is deeply, and this is the reality of all of us, deeply innovative, deeply caring for the work, someone that is a harder work, we have any Black women that become a leader without overachieving the work and the results many times. And to have someone like this in our team, the first time the organizations do is asking us for change to become a white man, to be and to behave and to think in the same way they would. And for us, having a future when you're transforming the power, having the tools to transformation is necessary. So we've been together for understanding what is the challenges for the Black leaders around the globe and across the diaspora. It's a necessity because it's new. Our previous generations working other fights, the fights for creating a healthy leadership and a system when you can be in power, it's so new. You saw what happened anytime a Black woman around the globe achieve a big position of power. The level of difficulty, the newspaper against them, the Insight and other colleagues against them. And you can have at the same time to achieve achieving our goals in our organizations, the results that we are hired to do, at the same time that you navigate the oppression, understand the oppression that you navigate, create a plan to communicate it and explain this to our peers and the leaders because they won't understand that. They aren't facing the same problems. And then, when explain this process, we have to create solutions for ourselves and for changing the organizations and implementing these changes at the same time that we are facing the main challenges that the other leaders do. This is too much, and that we have to talk about this. We have to think about this. We have to have policies for making organizations change it and for the power change, because the reason why we have the world like we have is because the system is broken. And having white and have Black leaders and female Black leaders, cis or transgender people in this position, asking them to do the same that white cis guys do, it's something that is just gonna fail. So letting us being ourselves and give the support we need for do the work that we are able to do is what you need to change the future.
Yeah. A professor stands in front of a classroom and he writes these words on the board: "A woman without her man is nothing." He asks the classroom full of students to punctuate this sentence. And so, almost to a T, the men punctuate the sentence this way: "A woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing." The young women in that room punctuated the sentence this way: "A woman, semicolon, without her, comma, man is nothing." Think about that. The first one, the way the men interpreted it, was a woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing. The second, interpreted by women, a woman, semicolon, without her, comma, a man is nothing. Perspective is what it is going to take to get us to the next level. And how many people we bring into that perspective, we lift up our voice, we say we're going to move the comma, move the parentheses, move the period. That is how we are going to get to future-proofing the world. And to future-proof the world and to ensure that it has women of color that are in its leadership roles means we need to be willing to add our perspective to the conversation. It will be right 90% of the time, because we know that men are right 5% of the time and call it okay. So this is our attempt, this is our opportunity to add our perspective to the table. That world that which we seek has not been designed yet. we get the opportunity, regardless of where you live, to design it, because we have, in so many ways, much more power and much more perspective than our ancestors had. And we stand on their shoulders as we look forward. And it will be critically important for each and every one of us to add our perspective to the table, to ensure that that perspective is heard, and to trust, which is the biggest question and biggest challenge that we often have, to trust that the person, the sister, the sibling sitting next to us is doing their best. So rather than critique, let's keep wondering how we can build better, how we can move the comma, the period, the quotations into something that is different. That is how we will get to the future, which ensures women and girls of color and gender expansive people have their spot at the table. And we need to understand that we can only be there as long as we can, and then we need to get out of the way and be supportive for those that are coming along. That's how we get to the future we deserve.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have a couple minutes for questions. I know.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Laura Esprilla, soy colombiana, encantada y orgullosa de estar en este espacio, de escucharlas, muy inspirador. Y quería preguntarles en su proceso, en sus organizaciones, qué herramientas quizás de coach, de liderazgo, de trabajo femenino han aprendido o han usado para acompañar el pionerismo de las mujeres y también para acompañar los trabajos de liderazgo justamente liderados por nosotras aquí en Colombia. Creo que estamos viviendo un momento de pionerismo de mujeres negras porque tenemos la primera vicepresidenta, las primeras ministras, estamos en una generación muy joven de primeras directoras y productoras de cine. Yo hago parte de esa generación y este momento de no sé, de ser las pioneras, porque además estamos muy jóvenes, o sea, somos las primeras en un país que lleva 80 años haciendo películas y tenemos 30 años, por ejemplo. Entonces, realmente estamos como muy atrasadas dentro de la historia del cine colombiano. Yo soy muy fan de las directoras de cine de Brasil, por ejemplo, como que ese pionerismo de estas mujeres cineastas nos ha inspirado muchísimo y casi que han sido eso, como ese camino a seguir desde la revolución también de cómo hacer cine afro y cine negro. Esa es mi pregunta y antes de terminar, quiero invitarlas mañana a las 3 p.m. en este espacio. Tenemos un panel sobre narrativa ancestral y storytelling. Entonces yo voy a estar aquí compartiendo. Lo digo porque no está en las fichitas, no está como público, pero me encantaría que haya más mujeres en este espacio mañana. Gracias.
Podemos empezar.
I would try to translate this. She's Colombian, and she's asking us and explain that the context of first generation of Black female leaders in Colombia, like the vice president and the other Black directors, for example, in the cinema field. And she would like to know tools, coaches, and the other things we did in our leaders' paths to be able to do the work that we do by now. So I understood that as this is starting in Colombia, what would you like to suggest for the Colombian leaders to thrive and succeed? I hope that, espero que sea cierto, pero, ¿sí? Vale.
Acompañar
Gracias.
el pionerismo y acompañar esos espacios donde llegamos por primera vez y no queremos repetir el llegar al lugar de poder y convertirnos en eso que con lo que hemos luchado, ¿no? En ser ese hombre blanco opresor cuando llegamos a un espacio de poder.
Muchísimas gracias. Sí. She also would like to understand about how being a pioneer, what would like to advise for being a pioneer in these fields and not make the same mistakes or not behavior as the white leaders behave. How can we be true to ourselves in this pioneer field, right? Muchísimas gracias.
So hopefully we will get a chance to talk further, but one of the things that you can do is always know that power is limitless. and hold an abundance philosophy that there is plenty to go around. And so what white leadership in many cases has taught us is that there's just a little. And what I say is there's the pie, and then there's another pie, and then there's another pie. There's a table and chairs. Take the chairs away. Have people stand around the table. Take the table away. Just have a big open room. So make sure, one of the biggest things I say, build your community. Be there for each other. Don't look to divide, and ensure that you have created a space for everybody. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I would say you can do. Also, make connections. When people say reach out, reach out. You do not have to make an offer that is not authentic. So if somebody says reach out to me, reach out to them. Build the connection, build the deep relationship so that you can be there for each other. It is not about what is happening today. It is what will be happening 5 years from now. Build 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Build those connections amongst those leaders. I will tell you, there is a young leader, her sister's in the room today. There is a young leader that I met 15 years ago that is now leading a national organization in the United States, and I'm now sitting in the space I am. Know the people, build the relationship, build it deep, and build it with trust.
Could we get, I know we're running out of time, can we get, Keesha? Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for everything. It's been great to hear all your stories and experience. Well, I'm not a black woman, but I'm a Mexican woman. And we live violence in a very specific way. When this little conference is over, there will be about 200 women raped in Mexico. It's a woman raped every 18 seconds. And by the end of the day, it will be 11 women. So the question goes this way. In Mexico, it's very important for us, the big demonstration we have on the 8th of March. But there are a lot of new ideas that said that this demonstration has been lost its purpose. And at the beginning, like before the pandemic in 2020, it was a huge demonstration, and the streets of Reforma, that is our main avenue, was full of purple and everything. And I would like to know from you and your experience, what can I do as a young woman that it's just one more, can do to give it its place back and to have again the meaning of the demonstration, and to fight from the right way and from the right reasons for the situation to change. Thank you.
I'm trying to understand your question in the sense that you believe that the thing itself has lost its way.
Yeah, I mean, me myself, I don't, but there are a lot of even people my age, friends, older women, that say that now it's all commercial, or that we are disorganized, and that it's just like to make some noise and that's it, when it's full of purpose.
Build the bridge. Build the bridge. So rather than needing to convince them, tie them to the legacy, this ancestral legacy, right? Our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers, our aunties, etc., they have always been there. And invite people, invite them. You don't have to convince them, but invite them to the table, invite them to the march in honor of somebody from the past. That will get them there. That ties us together. What they're saying right now is that this is not as important to me. Doesn't mean it's not important. It's not important to me in this moment. But tell the story, storytelling's critical, and invite them in honor of. And that will help bring people to the table.
Yeah, and being authentic with your purpose, but without convincing. It's just about community.
Thank you. And I think, so sorry, we are running out of time, but these amazing leaders will be around if you want to grab them for more questions. Let's take a round of applause for all of them. Thank you.